The diner was nearly empty, the neon sign outside flickering against the window, casting shadows that seemed as restless as his thoughts. Ethan sat hunched in the corner booth, his shoulders heavy as if the world itself pressed down on him. A stack of unpaid bills lay scattered across the table, untouched coffee growing cold by his hand. He stared at the numbers, the red warnings printed across envelopes, but all he saw was failure staring back at him. He ran his fingers through his messy hair and let out a long, tired breath. "Nothing ever works out for me," he whispered, though no one was there to listen. His voice trembled with the kind of hopelessness that doesn't erupt suddenly, but builds over time, like a slow storm. Every rejection, every missed chance, every door that had been shut in his face, tonight, it all weighed on him at once. The diner's soft hum of clinking dishes and distant laughter from the cook in the back only reminded him of the life he didn't have. A life filled with lightness, with peace. Instead, his world felt like it was unraveling. For a moment, Ethan dropped his face into his hands, shutting everything out. He wondered if anyone would even notice if he stopped trying altogether. In that dimly lit corner, surrounded by silence and the smell of burnt coffee, he felt invisible. More than that, he felt like he was running out of reasons to believe things could ever change. Just as Ethan sank deeper into his thoughts, the sound of a gentle voice cut through the quiet. From the booth beside him, an elderly woman with kind eyes and silver hair was stirring her tea, watching him with quiet concern. She had noticed the way his shoulders slumped, the way his gaze never lifted from the pile of papers. For a moment, Ethan tried to avoid her eyes, embarrassed by the weight of his own misery spilling into the open. "You look like you're carrying the whole world on your back," she said softly, her tone neither intrusive nor pitying, just human. Ethan forced a weak smile, trying to brush her off. "It's just life," he muttered, almost ashamed of how broken he sounded. The woman leaned forward slightly, her voice steady but filled with warmth. "Your thoughts shape your world, son. Change your thoughts, and you'll change your life." Ethan let out a quiet, skeptical laugh. To him, it sounded too simple, too good to be true. How could a few words make any difference when the evidence of his failures lay right there on the table? Still, her words settled in the air between them, refusing to disappear as easily as he wanted. For the first time that night, he looked at her, really looked. Her face held no judgment, only a calm certainty that came from someone who had lived long enough to believe what she said. And though Ethan didn't know it yet, those words would echo long after she left. The next morning, Ethan woke with the woman's words still replaying in his mind. He tried to shake them off, but they clung to him like a stubborn melody. Standing in front of his bathroom mirror, he saw the same tired eyes, the same worn-out expression. Yet, almost against his own belief, he whispered, "Something good will happen today." The words felt strange on his tongue, almost foolish, but for once, he chose not to argue with them. At work, the usual routine waited for him, the endless emails, the tasks no one else wanted, the weight of feeling invisible. Normally, he trudged through the day with his head down, expecting nothing. But this time, he forced himself to think differently. Instead of telling himself he would fail, he repeated silently, "I can do this." As he carried out his tasks, there was a subtle shift in his energy. He greeted coworkers with a faint smile instead of silence, took initiative on small projects, and approached problems with a steadiness he hadn't felt before. Midway through the day, his boss stopped by, noticing the difference. "Good work today, Ethan," he said with a nod of approval. It was a simple acknowledgement, but to Ethan, it felt like a crack of light breaking through a long, dark tunnel. On his way home, he caught himself smiling for no reason. It wasn't that all his problems had vanished, but something had shifted inside him. For the first time in a long while, hope felt possible. Days turned into weeks, and the small shift in Ethan's thinking began to grow into something larger. Each morning, he started with the same quiet affirmation, "Something good will happen today." At first, it felt like wishful thinking, but slowly, the world began to respond. At work, he noticed people gravitating toward him. A coworker, usually withdrawn and struggling with her own burdens, confided in him one afternoon. Instead of brushing her off, Ethan offered the same encouragement he had once needed: "You're stronger than you think. Keep going." To his surprise, her eyes filled with gratitude, and she smiled for the first time in weeks. Beyond the office, his perspective colored the smallest parts of his life. A stranger dropped a bag of groceries in the street, and without hesitation, Ethan rushed to help, earning a heartfelt thank you. At the coffee shop, he offered his seat to a tired mother juggling a baby and heavy bags. Every act of kindness, however small, filled him with a quiet sense of purpose. He began to notice how positivity didn't just change him, it spread outward, like ripples in water. The more he believed in good things, the more opportunities seemed to open. His boss trusted him with bigger responsibilities, friendships grew stronger, and for the first time in years, he felt like his life wasn't stuck but moving forward. Ethan realized he wasn't just surviving anymore. With every positive thought, he was creating a life that finally felt worth living. Months later, on a chilly evening, Ethan found himself walking past the same little diner where his lowest moment had once unfolded. The glow of the neon sign brought back a rush of memories, those long nights of doubt, the pile of unpaid bills, the quiet despair he thought he'd never escape. But tonight, his steps felt lighter, his heart steady with the quiet strength he had built. Through the window, he noticed a young man sitting alone in the very booth he once occupied. His head was bowed, shoulders slumped, a half-empty cup of coffee in front of him. Ethan didn't need to guess what weighed on him, he recognized the look of someone ready to give up. For a moment, he stood frozen, realizing he was staring at a reflection of his past self. Without hesitation, Ethan walked in. He slid into the seat across from the stranger, offering a gentle smile. The young man looked up, startled, but too tired to resist. Ethan placed a hand on the table and spoke the same words that had once changed his life. "Your thoughts shape your world. Change your thoughts, and you'll change your life." The stranger blinked, unsure how to respond, but Ethan could see a spark flicker in his eyes, a spark he himself had once felt. Rising from the booth, Ethan left quietly, letting the words linger in the air. As he stepped back into the night, he realized the power of positive thoughts wasn't just about saving himself, it was about passing hope forward, one life at a time.